Tune in, turn up, the clock's ticking fast. Crypto secrets from the future and past. Magic got the spark, Dave's got the flow. Right in the blockchain, wherever it goes. The Crypto Magic Hour, feel the power. Counting coins as we print every hour. VV Magic, Dave's on the scene. Crypto dreams in a digital gleam. Oh yeah, the Crypto Magic Hour.
Crypto Magic Hour.
What is up? We had some technical glitches starting the stream this morning, but I think we're live.
Maybe. If y'all see us and hear us, congratulations. We don't know. We're not really sure.
It didn't start on your Twitter handle, but I clicked it and now it shows that it is. So
I can't even see Twitter. I can't even pull up Twitter right now, just FYI. Like literally, I cannot pull up. Did you get a StreamYard notification saying that StreamYard is having issues with X?
no.
Yeah. I got there's a full-on thing at the top of my screen that says StreamYard having issues with X, because X has been glitchy all weekend. Like for the last 3-4 days, it's been an absolute nightmare. At least for me, but maybe.
Well, I have it showing that we're playing, so
hey, wait.
let's go.
Well, let's go. So, welcome, everybody. Where do we look? I don't even know where are we playing. I hope it's
So I don't think I've talked to you since our last show, really. What's new? What's going on?
It has been a minute. There's been a lot going on. There was ETH Denver, obviously, which was last week's show. Came back, was good. I did not catch the sickly bug like everybody else does. Filthy heathens that they are. I don't know, whatever. I was good until I wasn't.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, somebody must have jinxed me and said, "Oh, but Dave's not sick." Da da da. Saturday morning, woke up, nightmare. This coughing, that it was a disaster. But I'm much better now.
Good.
There's been a lot cooking. Yeah, I'm already 2 spaces in already for the day. I ran a space.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I ran a space at 7 this morning. Another space at 8 this morning. The money doesn't sleep out here. The money doesn't sleep. But yeah, and one of them was on BTCFi, which I think we are going to talk about today. I just unfortunately haven't been able to confirm our guest. Maybe we will now if X can ever actually work on my computer, which would be pretty sweet. But what's up with you? What's going on with you?
Keeping busy. I was on Dee and Hanano's show. They had me on Friday. That was a blast.
Is that your first time on there?
What?
Was that your first time on there?
I feel like I've been on their channel once before, but it was like a one-on-one. Well, one-on-one.
I was about to say, like, I beat you. I was there.
Maybe I haven't. I thought I went on there for something, but maybe I haven't.
Thank you, Dee. Hanano. Yes.
And I may have had like 1 or 2 good things to say about you. I don't know. It was
me?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
The Crypto Magic. It wasn't memorable. It wasn't anything memorable.
Wasn't anything that memorable?
No, they were asking about the show, and they were giving us good feedback of just how we run the show, and that we have somebody like me that asks the questions that people are maybe afraid to ask, and then you have the great knowledge to answer them in hopefully good, easy terms. Sometimes it's a little complex, but I think I do a good job of telling you to explain it to me like I'm 5.
Yeah. You do a great job, a phenomenal job in my opinion. I think this is a job that not many people would take because they'd be like, I don't want to ask you big questions, but it's just like, yo, these are not stupid questions. These are like the majority of the questions that people genuinely want to know, like the actual answers to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, can you give me any highlights on crypto news over the last week or so? Has there been anything crazy?
Yeah. So Friday was a massive. Why can't I see what is going on right now? I can't see anything. Like all my.
You're right. We don't have comments popping up.
Right? Like what is going on? I don't see no comments. I don't see nothing, man. This is crazy talk. But for those 5 of you that are here, well, Welcome. No, it's been
X is down.
Yo, that's crazy. Yeah, see, I can't even. Elon, somebody's coming after you, boy. Yeah, it's wild. Obviously not ideal for a stream for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to the 5 of you that are here, big A, shout out to you. And the other, wait, does 5 count as us as well, or no?
No.
Do we count as part of the 5?
Unless you have a plane on your phone, then yeah, you're one of the 5.
I mean, I could be. But there was some huge news, obviously, like big, really, really big news, which is interesting because the market is absolutely tanking right now, right? Like you look at crypto and Bitcoin is below 80,000 for the first time in like for as far back as we can remember, like pre-election time, you know what I mean? Pre-November, even pre-October. Once we broke that 69,420 all-time high, for those that remember, but there was massive news on Friday where Trump and his crypto czar and his entire team, his crypto czar David Sachs, announced a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And what that means is they're not going to go out and physically buy more. The federal government's not going to go out and physically buy more Bitcoin, but they have now created a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which means the Bitcoin that they currently hold, right? They are not going to sell. They are going to keep. And they've also created what's called a crypto asset reserve comprised of a bunch of other different cryptocurrencies. Some of those main ones being Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP. Shout out to obviously those communities. We saw a massive pump. I think Bitcoin went from 82,000 back up to 96,000. And now we are right back down to where we were. And people are like, what the hell is going on? We don't know what to do. So I think maybe today's episode is going to be kind of good for people, all 8 of you, hopefully who own Bitcoin at this point, or whoever goes back and watches the replay of this, to maybe kind of show you, like, look, this is what you can do with the Bitcoin that you're currently holding and not have to worry about the daily price action. So yeah, big news on that front for sure.
And what can you attribute the roller coaster of the prices right now to? Is it just like people buy the hype with the news and then you have people taking profits, or is it more complex than that?
It's not. It really isn't. Honestly, like there's no rhyme or reason, right? Like nobody's gonna be able to give you one. Like, why is the market down? And somebody gives, you know how like when you have passing conversation, like when I talk to like my dad, right? When I call my dad and I'm just like, he's like, oh, I saw there was a $1.5 billion hack like on an exchange, and I'm like, yeah, that was like 2 weeks ago. Oh, is that why Bitcoin's down? No, not really. I mean, no, there's no like one answer at the end of the day. Bitcoin is, in addition to being the best performing asset pretty much of all time, it is also the most volatile asset ever. And it is not meant for, unless you are a short-term volatility trader, which means you like the ups and the downs and you're watching it 24/7, great. There's no one definitive answer for it. Because like, look, we have every tailwind at our back that's like, this thing should be 150,000 at this point. But yet we're sitting here at like 79, 78, and 80,000. So like, when you try and start trying to make sense of this market and be like, oh, this is the reason why this happened, that happened, you have to have a long-term outlook. That's it. We say this every single episode, right? When it comes to Bitcoin, it has to be on the longer term, period, end of story. When you zoom out, you're much better off. Yeah.
This is a little bit more along the political side, but I'm just kind of curious of your opinion. I'm seeing, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm seeing that he's trying to get rid of income tax by this whole implementation of tariffs. One, you think he's going to be able to do it? And two, do you think that will have any effect on crypto?
So I mean, theoretically, it should have an effect on crypto, right? BTC manipulated. This is my favorite thing ever. It's like when people are like, it's manipulated. They're pushing it up and they're pushing it down. And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. But to answer I'll get to you in a second. But to your question, Magic, do I think it's going to work? I mean, I genuinely do. Like, regardless of how you feel about Trump, and we're not going to get political, so Magic, don't set me up on this one, please. Thank you very much. We're not going to get political, but I think what Trump is very good at is negotiations, and he's a businessman at the end of the day, and he knows what levers he can pull and what he can't. He knows when he's in a position of power and when he isn't. And the fact of the matter remains is when you look at everything that Doge has uncovered, right, like the Department of Government Efficiency, like with Elon and everything else, the bottom line is there has been hundreds of billions of dollars so far in waste that has been discovered, where it's just like, it's nonsense. So to me, I think this is the first step in actually taking back and making, and quote, making, what up, Millie? Happy Monday. Making this like country, making, quote, America great again. I really do believe that he has America first. Just look at what he's been doing, whether it's the tariffs might not seem favorable, where it's like, oh, prices are going to increase in the short term. Yeah, but if these tariffs do stay in place, like over the long run, you're going to see now car manufacturers are moving their entire plants to the United States now to across different states, because the tariffs that we're going to impose on their side are going to be so ridiculous that they couldn't afford to do business. And we're too big of a market for people to essentially say, okay, we just won't do business with the USA anymore. And Trump knows that. So that's why, in my opinion, I think this shit is going to work. We got to be able to buckle down and just bear through a little bit, but we don't even know the half of what Elon and Doge is going to uncover, like as he goes through all these different federal departments. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out. But look, I'm all for it. And I think the majority of Americans are for it too. And Elon even took a poll this past week on X, and 82%, and overall 82% of people approve of Doge actually going through and finding this waste. These are our taxpayer dollars, Magic. We get taken, like in California. I remember in California and New York, we're the worst. If you're a W-2 employee or even a W-9, it doesn't matter, right? And a contractor, they're taking at least 40% of your money every single check. So when you're out there busting your ass, that 40%, you want to know that 40% is at least going towards something that is going to either benefit this. It's going towards where we say it's supposed to be going to. But right now, none of that shit was happening. So I think it's in the long term, it is going to be good. We just got to be able to bear the short term.
Well, there's going to be give and take, right? Because they're still going to have to pay, quote, tax in a different manner, right? So it's like, maybe we don't have income tax anymore, but any goods we're getting from other countries and, still having to buy produce, all that kind of stuff, the prices are going to go skyrocket, and you're going to be paying prices you've never seen before. So there is always,
trade-offs.
You get taxed in one way or another.
Agreed. But I think overall, what we're going to see here, and a lot of people can't see this now, but the reason why you create like a Bitcoin or a crypto strategic reserve is because you want to hoard these things now, because you believe that they're going to be extremely valuable in the future. And like we say here all the time, like, what gives an actual cryptocurrency token its value? And that's real world use case, right? Like, who's actually using these things and these tools and essentially these tokens? And the fact of the matter remains, the majority of the Fortune 500 are building on Ethereum and Ethereum layer 2. They've already built either full on like chains themselves, like layer 2 actual blockchains to conduct their own business. They've used their the technology. People are now building on Bitcoin. So this is stuff that, in my opinion, is going to be extremely useful, meaning extremely valuable in the future, which is why a national stockpile actually makes sense, in my opinion. Yeah.
You want to dive into this comment before we move forward?
Yeah. I love these, and WAP, no shade, bro. WAP, literally no shade at all. But think about this for a second. BlackRock literally owns $52 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's almost 2% of the outstanding supply. That is crazy, right? They started buying this at probably 45, 50,000, maybe even earlier, whatever the case is. In what world does it make sense for them to say, oh, we're going to manipulate it, like the price go down? Unless you are, like I said before, an avid holder of Bitcoin, and you should not care what the intraday price action is. And that's going to be the purpose of what we're going to talk about today, which is we're going to show you a couple of different DeFi tools, right? That you can actually put your Bitcoin to use so that you don't have to give it up. You don't have to give a shit what's going on with the average day to day, because Bitcoin as an asset over time is the thing that outperforms every other asset in history, and it's not even close. So I don't think it's manipulated. People could say that it is or it isn't, but in my opinion, I just don't see it. I don't know why, but yeah. What up, Fro?
Yeah, shout out everybody watching. Fro, we got O'Milly, we got Biggest Bro, Richard, Big A. Thanks, guys. All right, so let's define Bitcoin DeFi. When I say let's, that means you.
Yeah, as in me. So what's Bitcoin? Well, let's talk about, like, we talk about what DeFi is, right? When it comes to what we've talked about on the show, and what a lot of people know probably now is mostly like DeFi, but on Ethereum, right? When you look at, a lot of different protocols that you can either stake to earn more tokens, you can swap, you can bridge. There's a ton of stuff that you can do in order to essentially use the tokens that you currently have in order to generate yield. And what yield is essentially you want to earn an interest rate on the tokens that you're holding. Because the way that I see it, and the reason why I got into this game, was because crypto should be making you money while you sleep. That's the name of this game, right? Genuinely. If you have like a long-term outlook, this should be making you money, period, end of story, while you sleep. That should be one stream of income. Because what is your bank account getting for you or yielding for you right now? Nothing. Magic, if you look at your bank account, right, and it's like, oh, whether it's a savings account or like roughly, how much do you think you'd be getting on the bank, like an APY on a yield on a savings account right now?
I don't even know. It's funny because I went into this outside savings account I had the other day, and I'm like, that's all I'm getting? Like $8 a month in interest? Like, what is going on? It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's probably on like a pretty decent balance, right? Like, that's crazy. You're literally getting like 0.1%. We won't go down the whole path of like what fractional reserve banking is, but bottom line is banks use your money to make themselves money and then give you a yield. And I'm like, okay, here you go. And it's like, that yield ain't shit. It is literally nothing right now. So if you are invested in Bitcoin and you own Bitcoin, what would be better, right, than knowing, number one, you already own the best performing asset of all time so far, right? And it's probably going to continue to do that just based off of the tokenomics and the limited supply and all the things that we talk about. Like, why wouldn't you want to essentially use that to then try and get more yield out of the Bitcoin that you currently hold? And there are tons of ways to do that. And we're seeing institutions, family offices, and even like high net worth individuals and even retail start to get into this. And it's a massive, massive amount of money, because what people tend to forget a lot of times is Bitcoin is a $2 trillion plus asset right now, with a T, trillion, right? Like, that is huge. That's being held somewhere, right? Somebody's got to be holding this Bitcoin. Who's holding it? And what are they doing with it? You're telling me if I came to you, Magic, and you were holding 1 or 2 Bitcoin, and I said, hey, if you're holding this Bitcoin, by the way, what if I said that you don't have to let it go? You don't have to sell it, but I can earn you another 5 to 10% on this Bitcoin every year? What would you say? No? Fuck you.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I would say, teach me.
Yeah. Let's go. Like, show me exactly what are the possibilities and what exactly can I do with it? So Bitcoin, so DeFi and Bitcoin DeFi, similar, different chains. Typically, when you talk about DeFi, is mainly what people know on Ethereum, but BTCFi and Bitcoin DeFi is on Bitcoin itself, where now you can be in control of your money, because custody is a very, very big deal when it comes to Bitcoin. I do not want to hand or give my money, either obviously on the DeFi side with Ethereum, now especially Bitcoin, you're talking about the most valuable asset ever. I don't want to hand that over and trust that somebody is going to do the right thing and that it's in the right hands. You know what I mean? So that's a big deal. So trust is going to be one of the biggest things that we talk about when it comes to BTCFi. Custody is going to be another one of those things. And then it's like, where can I get the most freaking money for my Bitcoin, right? Like, where am I going to get the best, quote, yield for the stuff that I own? So yeah, I'm going to pull up a couple different sites so you can see. But yo, Twitter is fucking us today, Magic. What is going on?
I know.
What the hell?
Yeah, and you are giving me anxiety because you keep freezing for like 3 seconds at a time. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah. Yeah. Your voice keeps going, but you freeze on the screen for about 3 seconds, like every couple of minutes. That's not funny.
Really? Damn it. I don't know why. The internet's good. Bitcoin. I don't know. What's happening?
Yeah, everyone's saying that X is dead. That sucks.
Mm.
Gotta get people to go back and actually watch it on the replay.
What the hell are we gonna do? If Twitter dies, I die. Like, what's going oh my God. What are we gonna do? Do we have Magic? Do we have a backup plan?
No.
I don't have a backup plan. Poor planning on our part. What the hell are we gonna freaking do?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, so this is all as me being the person that I am and not knowing what I'm talking about. This is all like, until we brought up this discussion, new information for me, because I think of crypto and I think of just like literally buying a token, having it in a wallet, selling it when I want to. So I didn't even know that there was such a thing as being able to then like basically get interest and make your Bitcoin do things for you. Like, so can you tell me like how many are there, like lots of different platforms in which you do this?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, let's go into that, because I don't even know the first thing about this stuff.
Yeah, let me share the screen with you guys so you can see what I'm seeing. Am I freezing again? Don't let me freeze.
Don't say that.
Welcome to the YouTube gang. Yeah. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. So this is a platform called Bitflow Finance. And Bitflow Finance is built on Stacks, which is a Bitcoin layer 2. So let's kind of unravel this maybe first, so that everyone can kind of maybe like understand what the hell is a Bitcoin layer 2, like how does this stuff work, yada, yada. So Bitcoin was initially built, right? When you look at, if anybody's read the Bitcoin white paper, when you see how Bitcoin was essentially established in the very beginning, it was essentially meant to be a store of value, right? You heard us talk about how Bitcoin was ultimately built in response to, like, if you remember the housing crisis, where we literally had to give the big banks like trillions of dollars in order to bail them out, in order to prevent the most catastrophic collapse ever. And Satoshi Nakamoto, I did the air quotes again, Satoshi Nakamoto came up with this Bitcoin white paper so that essentially everybody can take advantage of this, and that this can be this universal money supply in a way, right? Whether you see it as a store of value, that you should be transacting in money with it, so on, so it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, the way that this was structured was so that you, like the world as a whole, right, didn't have to be susceptible to centralized institutions, bad monetary policy, and so on and so forth. So this is essentially the response to fuck the bankers. All right, now we have fuck the bankers, but now how do I actually use my Bitcoin as opposed to just waiting for it to go up? What if I want it to be able to do more than that? And that's what people started putting their heads together. And this, meaning Stacks, the actual L2, which is a layer 2 solution, is kind of what was born out of, how do we put this thing to work? How do we make Bitcoin, in a sense, programmable money so that we can do really cool shit with it? And they created this layer 2. Now, what's important to understand now about Stacks that is very different than a lot of other, like, quote, layer 2s, is Stacks is literally built as an extension of Bitcoin, which means it has Bitcoin finality. And when I say finality, that means that the thing that makes Bitcoin so strong, if you guys remember, we talked about the decentralized component of it, right? There's hundreds of thousands of nodes that are running around the world, meaning Magic. You could be running one in your house. I could be running one in mine. There's some running in Europe, in Asia, South America, North America, Greenland, North Pole, South Pole, so that if World War III breaks out, the Bitcoin blockchain will still be up and running because it is not controlled by a centralized institution. And that is important. The ethos of that is important, because if I'm going to invest in something, I need to know that wait a minute, is this controlled by anybody? Like, where does my Bitcoin go when I start using this? And that's what's important. If I were to book a transaction on the Stacks blockchain, at the end of the day, it is going to be booked and secured by Bitcoin. There's no I take it back or let me get a refund or none of that stuff, right? It is 100% Bitcoin final. And that's a really, really big deal when you're making this kind of decision. But now it's like, what about the speed? The speed of Bitcoin is really tough. So on average, a Bitcoin block, right? So obviously we're into the blockchain space. The way it works, and I'll keep it really simple, high level, you have something called a consensus mechanism where it's like there's a bunch of computers doing all this crazy computation. They eventually come to a consensus and they say, okay, this is good. We agree. Let's book that block. Boom. That block gets mined. Somebody gets paid out. Amazing. We go on to the next one. That's what makes this work in very simple terms. Now, the block, it's like how these blocks are actually the speed at which these blocks are getting mined with Bitcoin, it was taking about roughly 10 minutes. That's a lifetime when you're talking about trading magic, right? Like, think about it. You go on E-Trade, you go on Ameritrade, you click a button, bing, done. That's it. I'm good.
Right.
So people were like, how do we actually fix this? And that's what Stacks actually did, is they said, we are going to make this a really, really quick, like a super lightning fast layer, just like some of these other chains, because Bitcoin has to move at the speed that people need it to move. 10 minutes is way too fast. So they built this extension. Therefore, now you can transact and do all these cool things. And Magic, I'm going to ask you really quickly. So before we get into the BitFlow stuff, we've used Uniswap before, right? Like, you remember using Uniswap. Like, we've traded on the base chain. You were like, oh, my OKX wallet, right? You remember how fast it was. It's pretty quick when you swap from one to another, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So with this, it was like 10 minutes.
That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to wait 10 minutes to know that I had a transaction go through. But again, this is just getting started. So what you can do here is one of so many different things. You have your basic DEX here, right? So this is anything that is obviously listed on Stacks. It's got its own, it's like its own little ecosystem, right? But again, everything that you're doing here on BitFlow and on the Stacks chain is ultimately being secured by Bitcoin and rolling up to Bitcoin so that you will see it booked in a Bitcoin block. And that is the biggest deal. And that's the biggest separator. So you don't have to part with your Bitcoin. You don't have to essentially give custody over to anybody else. Nobody else needs to take it. It is yours to do what you want. And this is the main point that I want to stress to you guys is when you're dealing with DeFi in any sense of the word, whether it's BTC-Fi, anything, you have to understand that your money is in your control. So if you fuck something up, you're fucking up your money, right? So you need to understand exactly how the money moves, where it goes, who's in control of it, how does it work when it gets to this point or that point. So that's what we're going to be here to kind of maybe like show you and kind of walk you guys through. But Magic, if you look, this is just your basic DEX, right? So on Uniswap, you can literally swap Stacks for anything else, right? STX for, and now look, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what's called SBTC. SBTC is essentially Bitcoin, but wrapped and now moved to the Stacks blockchain so that essentially you can now move your Bitcoin at the speed of, business or as fast as you really need it to, as opposed to waiting every 10 minutes for a block. So what this does is this allows me to say, okay, because before it was, I have my BTC. What do I do with it? You can't really do much. And if you're going to do anything with it, you have to wait 10 minutes every time you want to either move it here or move it there and wait. With this, I just want to show you guys. If I swap out, let's just say I have 35 stacks, right? It's $20, okay? If I want to swap this, I click swap. You're probably not seeing this, but give me 1 second.
Oh, it's asking you to.
Oh, you see it. Nice.
It says successfully broadcasted transaction.
Yep. So now successfully broadcast transaction.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Broadcasted.
So essentially, broadcasted transaction means, hey, we've let the network now know that you want to swap your your $20 worth of STX into Bitcoin. Now, if I did that normally, right? If I genuinely did that normally, that would take me, I mean, I couldn't do that on any other chain, but it would, if I could, it would take me at least 10 minutes. So I'd be sitting here waiting, being like, okay, so Magic, what's up? You know, well, but now I do this. Check it out. I'm going to share this screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is what's called a block explorer. And this is where you can ultimately see, like, was this done? And look how fast that was done. Confirmed in the block right here. You see it where my cursor is right here?
Yeah.
So now if I go back, I can see how much do I have? Now I have 0.00009 SBTC. And this is just as good as Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin. So you guys understand. Okay. This is Bitcoin. All right. This is essentially it. I now own Bitcoin. That was probably the dumbest swap I could have done because it charged me about like $15 to do it. It is not the cheapest, I will say, because if you want it to move, it's pretty quick. But I literally swapped $20 and now I have $7 left. So if you're going to do, you probably want to do it with size. If you're going to be moving stuff, don't do 10, 20, 30 bucks at a time. But I just wanted to show you guys that so you can see exactly what it is that you could potentially do. But now it's like, okay, now I could swap one for the other, but how do I make money on this?
Yes, right? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Like, you're not getting it yet. No.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so I could swap, but like, where's the money at? Like, how do I actually earn funds? How do I earn stuff here, right? And essentially what you can do here is a bunch of stuff, right? So if you see at the top, hold on, let me just share this. Okay, perfect. So what you can do here is there's so many different ways that you can earn. So right here off the bat, you can see it says SBTC rewards, staking APY at 18.86%. Wow. Think about that for a sec. That's wild.
That's a lot.
Right? That is a lot. That is a lot. That just goes to show you exactly how these platforms really want to incentivize, excuse me, really incentivize users to come to their platform. And that's not just the only way, right? Like I can literally go to pool and essentially, oh man, my internet is so slow.
Oh. Are there rules and restrictions with this though? Like sometimes in banking or investing, you have to like, leave the money there for a certain amount of time or you get penalized. Does that work similarly here? Or you can move stuff around as often as you want?
Amazing fucking question, Magic. And this is why you're great at what you do. Yeah, this is an amazing question, right? Because it's like, well, what's the lockup period, right? Because a lot of banks will say, you're right. They'll say, oh, well, you have to keep a minimum $20,000 balance if you want to earn this yield, right? And if you go below that balance, then no, sorry, we can't offer it to you. But it's just like, okay, here, there is none of that. None at all. There's no lockup period. There's no stipulations. Unless you're some really high net worth individual that works out some sort of deal with the platform itself directly, then yeah, maybe. But other than that, there is none. You can, and this is what's called peg in and peg out. And what I mean by that is you can swap your SBTC for BTC whenever you want. There's no holding period. There's no nothing. Unless it's specified by the platform itself. But think about that. Who's going to benefit? Why would, like, we want to be the complete antithesis and the complete opposite of what the TradFi world is. So what you want to do is you want to look at and go through all of these different platforms. There's another platform that I want to show you guys that is built on Stacks called the Zest protocol, which is like borrowing and lending. So you can literally just take the Bitcoin that you currently own, convert it, right? That SBTC that I now hold, if I wanted to, I can literally supply that and essentially loan it out by doing nothing. Literally just loan it out for 7.13%, right? Think about that. And in addition to that, Magic, what I'm also getting, if you see here, you also get points, because a lot of these different stacks protocols, what they're doing is they haven't issued, none of these protocols have issued tokens yet. And you remember how we talk about, look, like a big portion of like where you can make a lot of money, especially in this kind of an environment, is when companies are now issuing their token. You make money off something called, remember, TGE, token generation event. So now if you just take your Bitcoin and go to Zest protocol, okay, and you say, hey, I want to supply, I just want to loan out my Bitcoin, because it's literally just like a borrow and lending market, like just like with a bank. You know what I mean? Like you could go to a bank and just say, hey, I have money. And they'll say, okay, we'll pay you X amount of money. We'll pay you X amount of interest. Cool. I take that interest. That's good for me. They're paying that interest because they know that they can make more interest on the money that you're letting them borrow. So now you can come here, get 7% from Zest, or you can go to Bitflow, right? Here, right? There's a ton of different ways to be able to do this. There's so many different scenarios, and I don't want to get in. What I didn't want to get into today is like the exacts, like how to do this and how to do that. If it's something that you guys are interested in, I think we should do a follow-up one. And I genuinely want to have like Dylan or Diego or one of the founders that'll be able to come here and show us exactly how to do each one. So you guys get to really like get to see it. Look at this as more of like, this is kind of the foundational level, and this is what's potentially possible. And if you guys do want to see more of this, I will gladly, obviously, bring it to the forefront and bring the people that we need on here. Hopefully when X is working a little bit better and not like a day like today. But yeah, does that make sense, Magic? Like how you can, like where you can earn the yield, how much you can actually earn, and the points that you can earn too for some of these new tokens for some of these protocols?
Yeah, what are the points for?
Yeah. So Zest, let's just say Zest or Bitflow, right? They both have point systems. And these point systems are because you want to accumulate points. And a lot of times people do like these companies do points to essentially equate. They come up with an equation that when they drop their token, if you have X amount of points, you get an airdrop for X amount of tokens. You guys remember when I told you about the decentralized AI token where I made a 5-figure airdrop just for literally spending, $50 on like an annual membership? I got like a $12,000 airdrop for the VVV token. Yeah, it's crazy. So these protocols want to reward the people that are coming to their platform, not only either providing liquidity or like putting their Bitcoin up and interacting with the platform. They want to reward the people that actually like give a shit about this, right? Like this decentralized finance movement is moving ahead, and if you're a part of it, they're willing to reward you like hand over fist. There's so much money sometimes to be made in these airdrops. It's insane. So points equals, technically they can't say it legally, by the way. So but points typically equals airdrop tokens. Yeah.
So can I look at the Bitflow this is its own company, and it's for me to like equate it to, and I know there's differences, but it's like a bank, right? So the way that they make their money is using your Bitcoin and I guess investing it, and then giving you like how are they making money is my question.
Yeah. So the way in which like Bitflow makes money is typically off of like the transactional volume that's happening. So what you said at the end,
the fees?
That is, what's that?
The fees that they charge?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Right. So you saw how I swapped $30 or whatever in Bitcoin, right? And I got back $7 or $8.
Yeah.
There's a fee there. But when you look at that fee compared to everything else, the whole point of this, Magic, just to be clear, is I don't want Bitflow touching my Bitcoin. I don't want them using it someplace else. And they are not doing that. That is the complete opposite of what they are actually doing, right? They are literally just being the facilitator to say, hey, we are giving you the platform to essentially come here, earn this yield, keep custody of your own Bitcoin, and essentially be on your way. Unlike your bank, where like you now have to essentially give them the money, They give you some shitty ass little percentage. They then take your funds and go like invest those funds in other real estate projects or a million other things. And you're not seeing a single dollar out of that. No thanks. This is
I guess it just
different. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the banks can give you that interest.
Yeah.
Because they're hopefully, unless there's a banking crisis, they're making money using your money. I'm trying to understand where these high yields are coming from. Like,
yeah. So
I don't. That's the part I'm not connecting the dots.
Yeah. So essentially it's like, well, how do we actually incentivize people to come on board, right? To start like utilizing a platform, right? So they're genuine. So it's a really, really good question. And a lot of times people are like, well, is it just like coming, like, does it come out of nowhere? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Like, where does the yield actually generate from? To answer it as probably more in detail as I'd like, or as you probably need, I probably couldn't give you the exact answer of like, where does the yield actually generate or come from, specifically on Bitflow or Zest or whoever. At the end of the day, if you look at it typically as just, if you put your Bitcoin here, then we're essentially going to pay you out whatever X amount percent. That is already kind of factored in a way where it's something called, I don't want to say emissions, because emissions is like if you stake and then you kind of get back, that specific token. But where the yield comes from is they have to you have to incentivize people to come and use your platform. So this is almost an expense in a way, right? That either Bitflow, the Stacks blockchain, and essentially the people that created these layer 2s and everything else are footing the bill for, because they want their platform to be the one being used, because the fees that they're making from it are probably going to be greater than the actual yield that they're getting. Because think about it.
That sounds risky.
I mean, yeah, it's risky, but think about it. It's a $2 trillion asset. Bitcoin has already proven itself as like a massively valuable asset. Now it's like, let's unlock the value that is from holding that Bitcoin. And instead of just holding it, let's unlock all of that value so that we can now put it to work. And people are saying, you know what? We'll pay you out our own Bitcoin if you want to come put it to work here. And a lot of times, like, that really does pay off for a ton of different platforms. And you see it here just by the yield, because the yields aren't going to be this high forever, right? Think about it. The yields are this high only for the people that are just getting started, like in the early beginning. As time goes on, these yields are going to come down. Look at MetaMask. They just issued a credit card and they have a cashback of like 1%. What the fuck am I doing with 1%? Like, okay, cool. I probably get more with my Capital One credit card at this point, right? Yeah. It's just like, why? Like, now we're literally talking like high single digit, low double digit, like APYs and yields but the key here is in Bitcoin. So this is not just like 9%, 7%, 10%, 11%. It's in Bitcoin, because now if you earn that in Bitcoin in a year from now, when Bitcoin is 160,000, that 10% just turned into literally you doubled the amount of money that you earned. You earned because I know that might sound a little confusing, but does that make sense? Like, if I'm earning 10%, like let's just say I own one Bitcoin and Bitcoin's $100,000, just for easy numbers. Okay. And I earn a 10% yield. So I hold my Bitcoin through the year. I earn 0.1 of a Bitcoin by the time the year is over. That 0.1 BTC, because we denominate it in US dollars, was worth X amount of dollars. But now Bitcoin has doubled from 100,000 to $200,000. So that 0.1 is now worth double the amount in US dollars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So I know it can get a little bit dicey here and there, but this is the basis. When you're early, you're early. And I promise you guys, this is early enough to be able to take advantage of some of these incredible frigging yields. And there's a ton of different strategies to go over, things you have to be wary of, a lot of risks that are involved when it comes to, if you don't want to just, let's say, stake your Bitcoin or convert to SBTC and then maybe put it to work in liquidity pools. It's a lot more complex, and we don't have to get into that now. We could do a whole other episode on that, but that could be a lot more lucrative. You can earn, some really, really hefty fees with a lot of this shit, for sure.
So how do you know which of these sites, companies are trustworthy and reputable? Since all this is like, kind of new, how do you know what you can trust and that
Yeah.
that your investment is safe?
That's why everybody has to come here to Crypto Magic Hour and trust. No, listen, trust is a very, very fickle word, especially for me in crypto magic. I think you know me at the end of the day. I am the most untrustworthy person when it comes to like, it takes a lot for me to say, oh, like I trust this, let alone and that's a human, let alone a platform, right? This is where like, I mean, I can't stress this enough. This is why investing in Bitcoin and in a lot of these different stacks specifically, you have the most trust minimized way of investing ever. Because, like I said, custody is everything. I don't want to trust another human being or another platform with my stuff. And
So you're
that's
giving away custody when you're using this platform, right?
so here's the thing, right? You're not. It's in your wallet, right? You get to essentially unlock it at any time. What governs all of this is smart contracts, right? So just like Ethereum revolutionized DeFi with the addition of smart contracts, right? That is essentially what turned banking up on its head, where people realize like, holy shit, you don't need to trust the person. You trust computer logic and you trust computer code. The code is law. Meaning, if this meets this criteria, then that. Cool. There is no other way in, out, or around it in order for us to get around. And that's what smart contracts bring, right? To essentially to DeFi. And that's what Stacks brought to Bitcoin, which it didn't have before. Because Bitcoin, store of value. The chain itself was not made for smart contracts. That's what made Ethereum so successful, was because you could do all this crazy shit with all these smart contracts. And people were like, whoa, this is cool. I don't have to trust anybody. It's just, this is what the smart contract says it's going to do. Awesome. And honestly, Magic, here's the best way I can relay it. Imagine if trading on VV, right? Remember how back in the day we used to have to go to like Telegram and use the escrow and all this. Imagine like where, and I think Dr. P is actually building something like this with Stacker, where if you can trade assets with one another, it's like, well, how do I know this person's going to send it? And how do I know that person's going to send me back the other asset? What you do is you lock it into an escrow contract, an escrow smart contract, where nobody has to trust anybody. The law, the code specifically says this gets locked in here by party A. This gets locked in here by party B. When these conditions are met, meaning when party A either receives the funds and party B releases the item, that's when we release the blah, blah, blah. Like that's when we finalize the actual transaction. Done. That's the beautiful part about what smart contracts bring. It's not just crypto. It's the blockchain itself and the functionality that brings. And when you can bring that to Bitcoin, you now have the ability to unlock trillions of dollars in value that has just been sitting on the sideline for this entire time for the last 12, 13 years.
You just got Richard hyped on the Dr. P.
Yeah. Hey, listen. By the way, I think I might have heard Dr. P say that. Maybe that was in a conversation that I had with him when he was here at the Omi party. I don't know, but don't come back to me on that if he's not cooking that right this second, okay? But yeah,
they're gonna be like, Dave said.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, but Dave said on Crypto Magic Hour that you were building this. And it's like, nah.
So, can you go over some of, you made that sound like it's not so risky because of the contract, but some of the risks involved with?
Yeah. So obviously there's always smart contract risk, right? You want to know like who is the actual, like what is the contract actually being used? And a lot of people, for the most part, like they want simplicity, right? So think about it. Like if you correlate it to the real world, the majority of the time, like what makes you, I guess, let me ask you, I'm going to flip it back to you, right? Like what makes you choose, like who do you bank with and why do you choose to bank with them? Are we rich yet? Yeah, no. Yeah, not yet. Hashtag soon. I don't know. Hashtag soon. Yeah.
For me, it's, I like to know that something is well established and has history. And I also rely on friends and family and ask them what bank they use, why they like it, why they not like it. So it's kind of, I do a little research.
Yeah. So you'd have to do that times probably 100 out here.
Yeah.
If you want to earn more money than what you're currently earning in the real world, in the quote real world, right? Why do I keep doing it? I just keep doing it. I don't know why.
Just can't help yourself.
I can't fucking help it. I can't help it. I'm sorry. My hands speak. It's what they do. But yeah, if you want to make, like, this is it. This is what it comes down to. You're going to have to do the same, like the same amount, if not probably way more research into who's actually using this, who actually audited this, right? Do you go to your bank and say, what kind of using, like, to prevent cyber attacks? Not really, right? Like, you don't, because they're already established institutions that like everybody else uses, and it's almost this assumed thing that like banks are safe, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. And then when you look, and I'll give you the perfect example. Like, look at what happened with what's his name? Uncle Jeremy, with Jeremy Padua, right? Like, with his poor guy with his house and his collectibles and all this shit. And it's just like, you think that like your stuff's going to be safe in the bank with the this. And it's like, well, the bank burned down. So now it's like, well, how do I get my stuff out? And it's like, well, now you have to wait for the other regional bank that's probably going to take over that safety deposit box for this, this, and this. And it's just like, what? You have to go into this really understanding that because this is your money and you are in control of it, you need to understand where we are at in the life cycle in all of this. So yes, there's always risk involved with anything that you do. Nothing out here is risk-free. Nothing. If anything, you have to be more diligent to really understand, like, what is it that I'm actually putting my money into? Where is my money going? Who's in control of that money? And if I wanted to take that money out, how do I go about doing that? And is it tough? Is it easy? Is there, like you said, Magic? Every question that you asked up till now is like the checklist that you have to go through in order to be able to say, okay, I feel comfortable doing this. And for some people, that 7% or 10% or 18%, they might say it's not worth it for me, right? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I have zero desire to do that. But others like me and maybe a few others, you can call us crazy, you can call us whatever, but we're out here earning Bitcoin yield in the best performing asset literally of all time. And that's probably the 10th time I've said that this entire stream. Literally the best performing asset of all time, like ever. And I'm earning more of it and more of it and more of it every single day while I sleep. I'll take that.
Yeah, I think for me it is a trust factor. And also, like, I can see how much time and research has to go in, you have to put into this kind of stuff. Like, it's intense. And I do like I think it's just something that we humans have like been trained and programmed to do, is like, I have trust in something that is well established and been around a long time, even though it's not entirely safe at all. And this is just so new, and I don't know where to go to first. And so I do have a hard time, but I mean, I find it super interesting and I want to learn more, because I mean, who doesn't want to make 18%? Like, that's crazy.
Why wouldn't you want to do that? Right. So to me, it's worth the time and the effort to be able to put in and say, okay, right, I understand the founder, right? I speak to like the founders of that platform, of all these platforms I just showed you, of Zest, of Bitflow. I speak to these guys on a regular basis. Like, I have watched them build this over the last year and a half, day in and day out, talking with them every single day. That's how passionate I am about it. And that's like the possibilities that I see about it, to the point where I've worked for these guys, like some of them, right? Like, I've pushed their platform forward, because for me, you guys know, on X, you only have one reputation, right? It's only one. Like, if you're going to throw that away for 20, 30, 40,000 bucks on some bullshit, right? And you're going to get screwed. You got to be able to do your homework. So understanding who you partner with is a very, very big deal. Now, I'm not saying take my word for it. Like, they're good guys, like, go for it. Nah, that is the furthest thing from what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is, I spent the time looking into it because I genuinely saw the opportunity, because I wanted to earn this extra money. And getting to know these guys has opened up so many other additional doors for me as well, that I would highly encourage you guys to genuinely get into their Discords, understand who the people are and the founders are behind, because a lot of times you'll get Bitcoiners that'll just be totally anonymous. You don't know who the fuck they are. I don't want that. There needs to be an actual like human component for me to understand who's building this, like how passionate are they? And when you speak to these guys, especially the BitFlow guys, Dylan and Diego are some of the most down-to-earth, hardworking, genuine fucking guys that I've ever been around, that I'm like, I feel comfortable putting my money in this platform. My money's been in this platform for probably, and I give them a lot of shit too, because it's like, hey, when are my points going to turn into airdrops? I need tokens out here, man. Like, what are we doing? But it's all in good fun. Obviously, like I understand that, look, tomorrow isn't predicted. We don't know what's going to happen. But also at the same time, I'm not putting an amount of money where it's like, if that was to go bye-bye tomorrow, yeah, would it suck all the shit that I've accumulated over the course of, the last like year and a half? Yeah, of course it would. But it's not to the point where it's going to cripple me and my life is literally going to come to a screeching halt and all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm done. Nah. So it's finding that, like kind of finding that balance.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question too, right?
Yeah.
How much do you know of like your total crypto portfolio that you like? What's your advice on that? Do you put 90%, 10%? Like,
this is a tricky question, right? Because like that is like for a lot of people, that's going to be that's it for everybody. That answer is going to be very different, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I think you've heard me say, and I've given Magic a complete panic attack when I said that I took out my entire 401k in 2021 and put it into the crypto market, right? Looking back, was that the best move? Would I do it again? I probably would, but I also was a little bit naive in that, like, I wasn't anticipating the downturn and the bear market of 2022, 23 into 24 and beyond. And that was a really long time to be able to trudge through this. But I was so passionate about this that I was like, this is what I want to do for my living, right? So now it's like, how do I make my living with it? But that answer can only come from one person, and that's yourself. Like, until you feel genuinely comfortable with this entire space, you have to be okay with it. Some people put 1 to 2% of their net worth, and they refer to it as what's called schmuck insurance. And what schmuck insurance is like, if the entire financial system goes fucking belly up and the bankers do the same shit that they did in 2008, you now have 2% of your net worth in Bitcoin, where it's like, all right, cool. Like, here it is. Do you want more exposure to Bitcoin? Especially now seeing the institutional adoption that we're getting, what the states here in the United States are actually pushing for. I think Texas over the weekend actually approved their Bitcoin asset reserve. So now we're doing it at the federal level, and now we have states doing it at the state level as well. So to me, that's a personal choice. You have to decide that for yourself. But the only way to do that is you want to get in. I'm not saying go all in, but like test the waters a little bit, like dip your toes in, see what's up. Mm-hmm. A Mexican billionaire over the weekend literally came out and said that he has 70% of his net worth in Bitcoin. That's crazy when you think about it. A Mexican billionaire, 70% of his net worth is in there. And you've heard some of the biggest asset managers as well. Like there's Van Eck, like the CEO of Van Eck, that said he's got, I think it was 25 or 30% of his net worth that's in Bitcoin. So there is a lot of money to be made. But again, if you're just starting to get kind of feel this out, dip your toes slowly, and then I think you'll be good.
Yeah, the Mexican billionaire gives me intense anxiety.
Yeah. 70% of your net worth is a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
So are you seeing a lot of companies like BitFlow pop up, or is it still pretty small? Like, and I'm going to equate them, like BitFlow is big, like, it's not a bank, but it's an investment source for
So I'm going to show you guys just.
And are you involved in any other ones? Like, do you just kind of stick to BitFlow, or are you sort of?
Yeah. So hold on.
Cases, and if you are, why?
So I'm going to show you guys. So Stacks, this layer 2, has something called stacking DAO, which essentially is going to show you exactly how much money is actually on this platform. Okay. So let me just log in here so you guys can see the different, come on. So you guys get to see.
My cat is making me crazy. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise. He's like having a wrestling match on the carpet behind me.
This is interesting. Why did it come up as Bitcoin Plus? I don't even know who that is. That's very interesting. Bitcoin Plus. Hold on one second, Magic. Let me just see something. Bitcoin. Oh, no. I did register that. That's right. I forgot. Okay. So, yeah. So you guys can see exactly like how much money there is in a lot of these things. So on Stacks, right, there's a bunch of different what we call protocols, okay? So on Stacks, you have Bitflow. There's a little over $10 million, which when you really think about it, is not a crazy amount of money, right? It's not that much money. On Arcadico, you got 6.3 million. Velar, you have 3.6 million. Hermetica is mostly a stable coin, so this number is a little bit deceiving. They have about 5 million. And on Zest, they have that borrowing and lending protocol. They have about 54 million. So when you look at this in total, right, 54, let's say 65, 70, there's about 80 to 85 million dollars in this whole ecosystem.
What was it called? The last one was Zest. What makes that why is it outperforming the other ones by so much?
So it's not so much outperforming, it's so much as like how much money have people put into the protocol, meaning the borrowing and lending, because it's a lot easier, right? When I say easier, it's very straightforward. Like, here, you give your BTC here, I give you 7% back. Okay, cool, right? Really simple. Now, the one thing we actually didn't talk about, which I'll briefly mention as well, is this, what stacking DAO is essentially a liquid staking token that you can earn more yield on. So what you would do is you would bring your STX, right? That's your Stacks token. You bring it here and you can earn anywhere, I think it's between 7 and 10%. I think now it's about like 9%. And then you take that, now that you've actually staked it, you're now earning a yield on that, and you can now move it because Magic, the majority of DeFi has always been where if you were to go stake something, like you asked earlier, that gets locked in a contract and you can't do anything with it. But people realize, like, wait a minute, but that's really impeding a lot of people from doing a lot of things. So what they're doing now is they're giving you the ability to say, hey, you now get the yield here on Stacking DAO, but also you can you can now take that yield and ultimately move it across this entire ecosystem to then go use in some of these other protocols. So now you're almost effectively like doubling up your yield. Don't ask me where does the second yield and the first yield come from. That's a whole long other conversation that I promise you we don't have time for. But again, there's risks associated with all of it. I want to get these guys on here so that we can, yeah, Lorenzo, I love yield too. I love yield. Yeah, I love yield also. Where we can ultimately get these guys on here and they can walk you through where does the yield come from? How is it generated? What can you potentially earn? But you guys saw just what's barely the tip of the iceberg out here, right? And at the end of the day, like, look, Stacks right now, and I know that because I can tell you this for sure, the majority of the people that are in here are in my crypto cabal chat, Magic, just like you. And we've rode Stacks from 80 cents to almost $4 back down to now we're at 65 cents. So to show you like the actual volatility of crypto, of how we were riding high and now it's like, oh, great. But now it's like, now we're back down here. And this is where you have to decide, like, do you have the conviction in something like this where am I going to buy this, put this crypto to work, whether it's STX, whether it's BTC into SBTC, and exactly how to formulate the best plan to be able to do it. And maybe we could do that like on the next show when we get these guys on here, and we can essentially craft an actual plan to show you guys, because there's a lot of opportunity to be able to do a ton of stuff for real. Magic, give me 1 second. My nose is running really quickly. Sorry. The perils of being sick. I hate you, East Denver. I hate you so much. I seemed fine though last week, didn't I?
Yeah. So you use more besides Bitflow here? Have you kind of toyed around with all of them, or?
Yeah. So I've essentially participated. I've had, or I currently have money, and full disclosure, I currently have money in all of these protocols. So I'll give you the perfect example, right? Hermetica is an amazing one. Okay. What is Hermetica? Hermetica is a Bitcoin-backed stable coin. And I'm going to show you guys. I think I have like $1,000 or something like that staked here, where you know how we have USDC and USDT magic for stables, right? What USDH is it's a Bitcoin-backed stable coin. So it's a synthetic like stable coin dollar, but it's essentially, look at it as like it's made of Bitcoin. Okay. And if you want right now, like it's about 8% if you stake this, but I'm going to show you guys, because I was getting at one point when Bitcoin was really running up, I was getting, I think it was almost like 40% APY on just staking a Bitcoin-backed stable coin. Think about that for a second, right? So hold on, I got to switch this up.
That seems like kind of a no-brainer.
It should be a no-brainer, and I want to bring as much attention to this as possible, because I genuinely believe that what Hermetica is doing is insane, right? It is crazy. So here I have, I think I started out with, here, let's see the portfolio so you guys can see. Okay. So I now have $937.73 in staked USDH. Okay. Look at this. It shows you the payouts and how much money. This is a really simple UI. I started on, when was it? Let me see. On January 31st. I said, you know what? I'm going to put $925 into this thing and let me see how it goes. Okay. It shows you exactly how much you've actually earned every single day. And the payouts come, excuse me, every single day. Right. So on $1,000, I made, let's say 67 cents, which might not seem like a lot of money to a lot of people, but put that into perspective, right? If you actually do that on a percentage basis, $1,000, 10% of $1,000 is $100. Okay. 1% of $1,000 is $10. Now, 0.1% is $1. This is what my daily yield was. Daily. So imagine if this was if I had put in $10,000, that means that I would be making $6.70. Just add some zeros, right? Basic math. If I literally took this and said, oh, instead of 1,000, I'm going to put 10,000. That means that I'm earning $7 a day. And to everybody, that might not seem like a lot of money, but $7 a day at the end of 30 days is $210 a month. $210 a month at the end of the year times 12. Come on, that's $2,500 a year off of $10,000. That's 25% on your money. And that is not, and again, it's a Bitcoin-backed stable coin. Okay. So you can convert it, you can move it, do whatever you want with it within this ecosystem. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And people sometimes don't see, because all they see is 67 cents, 53 cents. That's it. That's all I'm making. And people have these visions of grandeur where it's like, I want to be making hundreds and thousands of dollars every day. Stop it. The slow and steady, because I'll tell you right now, I feel like this is This is like my help group, my self-help group, right? It's like, guys, I used to be just like that. I used to be chasing meme coins and shitcoin gains for thousands of percentage points until I realized it's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. Take your hard-earned money, put it to work here, watch it grow over time, and you can see every single day exactly how much you're literally earning. Look at these numbers. Like if you have $10,000 in that bank account, Magic, that we were talking about, right? And you have that 10 grand and your bank is literally paying you 0.01% or 0.1% in interest, you can literally be making 10 to 20 times that amount of money here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, like, this is it. You see it and I'm putting money into this every single month now. And the more money I'm going to put in, the more money I'm going to earn. It's that simple. So I hope you guys take advantage of this. Hermetica is a really easy way to be able to do it. There's Bitflow, there's Zest, a ton of them. If you want the simplest way to do it without having crazy exposure to the crypto markets, USDH is your Bitcoin-backed stable. You're good. You're chilling.
And so you had to connect your wallet, but you you can't like just go here and automatically buy USDH. You'd have to do a swap.
Yeah, you can swap it anywhere. So on Bitflow, that's a great question. So you can swap right on Bitflow. Let me share this tab so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So right now, if I wanted to take my USDH and swap it out for, let's say, SBTC, right? For let's say I wanted Bitcoin, I want to just take my gains and now put them into Bitcoin. I look here, I see where's my USDH? Bam. If I wanted to take my USDH, but right now my USDH is staked, right? So once I unstake it, right, and I get it back in USDH, right, I stop earning the yield there, but I can then come here and say, you know what, take my USDH and swap it into where's my Bitcoin? Do they not have a pool? So these are different kinds of like BTC. So each platform has their own version, right? So this is the Alex version, Bridge BTC. There's XBTC, ABTC. I don't know why there's no
BCD.
Yeah, that's the one thing that drives me fucking crazy is like STX, XXXUSDH, and XUSDC. It's like, yo, you lose your mind with some of the naming conventions out here. You really, really do. But I can literally take my USDH and essentially swap it over into anything else that I want. The cool part here too, and this is a really cool feature that's on Bitflow that I forgot to mention, is DCA. You know, Magic, like on Coinbase, Lorenzo, we actually talked about like where does the actual yield actually generate from. We're going to get the Bitflow guys and a bunch of the other guys to come on so that they can really break it down a lot better. Because for me to say it is like, thanks guys. I don't want to be the one to be like, it comes definitively from here, but they incentivize you to come and use their platforms because they are making money off of fees, right? Swap fees and so on, that they're willing to essentially say, hey, we can essentially offer, if you bring like sizable investment or really any investment whatsoever, they're going to give you X percentage amount. But Magic, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You were going to show something that you forgot to show earlier on the site. Couldn't tell you what it is because I
totally forgot what I was going to do. But yeah, okay, I totally fucking spaced out.
Cool story.
Yeah, cool story. Yeah, great story. Cool story.
Oh, I have a question. What you said, you can't swap it right now because it's staked. What's the process of unstaking, destaking?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's that? How do you do that?
Yep. So you remember how you said, you asked the question earlier, right? Where you said, well, is it in my control? Like if I want to unstake it, can I get it like right away? And I was like, yeah, the majority of places will allow you to just unstake right away. But look right here with Hermetica, Now, it doesn't mean that it's better or worse, but what you need to understand is when you go to unstake it, here it says it will be available to claim 7 days after unstaking. Because think about it, when you're a protocol that is just getting started, if you allow people to like just stake, unstake, stake, unstake, you need to have some sort of predictability, right? And this 7-day buffer is essentially going to be the thing that gives the Hermetica platform that buffer to be able to make sure that the network is essentially maintained. And what I mean by that is it takes these 7 days for them to say, okay, do we have enough money here? Do we need to rebalance here? Where do we need to put some additional money, maybe from our side? So this is essentially them saying, if you put your money here, you're getting an outsized APY, right? Like for me, it's on average, it's been about 22, 21% since I started a couple months ago, right? If I wanted to unstake, it's going to take 7 days, right? So I can literally go here, I can go here, I could say, unstake this, right? 835 staked USDH, which would be the equivalent of $937.73. I hit unstake, I approve it in my wallet, and then in 7 days, I'd be able to come back and I go under the claim tab and it'll be right here for me to claim in exactly 7 days. Make sense?
Yeah. Do you think part of it is also not wanting people to just like pop money in here for a week and take it out? Like exactly. Just, you know,
they want longer term money. They want like
looking for long-term investment.
Like you can't build out a real protocol. It's impossible to build out a real protocol without what's called TVL. without
I knew you were going to do that as soon as you did that.
Why? Without TVL, which is essentially total value locked. And yes, that is exactly stupid. I see you not trying to laugh. You're like,
Okay,
some of us sold. What do you mean sold, Lorenzo? What did you sell? Your Bitcoin? No.
No, I think he was talking about what was it, STX?
Oh. Some of us sold.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever.
God bless. I hope that's the case, man. I hope some of you sold at $3, $4. Congrats. Amazing. That's what I'm saying. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. In the group chats, people are like, you think it's going to go higher? You think it's going to... I don't know nothing of what tomorrow is going to bring. All I know is this is what I have currently like staked. This is what I'm currently doing. I don't know if I'm right. I held my STX this entire way. I barely sold any. Like literally, I barely sold any. Right? On the run up from $1 to almost $4. I didn't really sell much because I believed in what these guys were building. Right now, I'm not looking the best. I'm just not. But I do have conviction in this. And at 64 cents, shit, I'm definitely buying the STX at these levels for sure. But again, NFA, yada, 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 all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you think that we need to add? I feel like we covered this pretty well, other than, more deep discussion with the BitFlow guys, if we can get them on. But
100%. No, I think this is pretty good. I feel like we covered a good amount as kind of like a base like intro. I can easily get like the founders for every one of these protocols, right? I can get the Zest founder, I can get Hermetica. Like I work for these guys a lot of times. A lot of these guys sign a lot of my checks. So like the money that I literally ask Hermetica to pay me in USDH, and I just literally stake it there. Because for me, it's like, forget about it. Like I'm done. They pay me to run their spaces. I love running those Hermetica Hangout spaces. Look, pay me. I'm putting it right back into your own platform. And that's literally the path that I'm taking now. And I'm just going to put it away and just fucking chill. Because if you can make money in other places, because a lot of times that's the biggest thing, right? What up, Jay? That's the biggest deal, right? It's like people don't have liquidity sitting on the sidelines. That's what's really tough. And people that don't have liquidity on the sidelines, they feel like they're like trapped in a way. It's just like there's so much opportunity. And I know this because still to this day, even with me, I'm making decent money now, right? And I'm seeing steady income, but sometimes I still feel like I wish I had more money because I want to make this play. I want to make that play. I want to make this play. So just be patient a lot of times. And the patience thing is key. If you have patience, to see this stuff out, you'll be golden. But yeah, I thought this was great.
I agree. And
questions for real. Amazing questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, really great ones.
So yeah, I guess we'll wrap up. It's such a bummer that we couldn't be on X today. Maybe you could, tweet this out and tell people to go back and watch it. I can do the same.
Yeah.
Because this is I thought this was a really good one. Really enjoy the conversation, and I need to start looking into this stuff a little bit.
What do we got next week? Are we talking mental health stuff next week?
Yes, we are. I'm really excited for that one. Not gonna lie, I'm really, really excited.
Mental health game is part of this entire the mental health.
Very important.
It's everything out here. Like if you guys don't have this up here and like the wits about you and kind of like get caught up in the hype, but there's also we can tease it out, but Magic, you and I have talked to this like at length, and there's a lot that goes on when it comes to mental health and keeping your mind right, because there's some crazy shit that happens in these spaces, and we've talked about some of them, right? Like just dealing with loss, and like just in the VV fam, we've lost like so many people that, can really, like, it can mess with you at the end of the day. And when there's money at stake as well, you want to figure out how to kind of like really counterbalance like a lot of these things and lean on the people that you can like lean on. And so I think next week's going to be a really, really impactful episode. So I really want to implore everybody to kind of tune into that. And kind of check us out for sure.
All righty. Sounds good. And we have an outro now. Shout out to Hanano for our intro and now our outro. So we will play that and see you next week.
The crypto magic hour, feel the power, counting coins as we print every hour. VV magic, Dave's on the scene, crypto dreams in a digital gleam. Oh yeah, the crypto magic hour.